Hello, my name is Laura. I like books and I like to talk about books. Today, I want to share my favorite books, kind of all time, but I'm still young, so I'm sure this list will increase and change and grow as I grow. But for now, I have a few, of course, that have stood out and I want to share them. Okay, my first book is probably one that I would call my absolute favorite. And I feel like this is kind of surprising, but my favorite book is Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. And if you haven't heard of this book, it's about a guy named Charlie Gordon who is born on the spectrum and he undergoes this surgery of sorts to increase his brain capacity. So the whole book is told through his journal entries. So they start out with a lot of grammar errors and in general just less maturity, and very quickly he grows in his intelligence. The thing that is especially interesting about the intelligence that he grows in is that it's not just being able to learn math and science and things like that. It's also that he gains so much more emotional intelligence and awareness. For example, in the beginning of the book, he has these friends who he talks nicely of and explains that he had these great times working with them. And you, as the reader, know, oh, these guys are making fun of him. But he doesn't get that. He can't read that cue. And so you already feel for him. Later in the book, he tells stories of these friends again, and he realizes that they're not his friends at all. They are making fun of him. It's just interesting that as he gets smarter, he actually also gets sadder. And I think there's something about that is so true for all human beings, that the more we grow up and the more we learn and experience, the more that we come into contact with grief and just general hardships, I think the more that melancholy enters our life. And I think for Charlie, he experiences that all very quickly. And it's just very fascinating. So that's book number one. I love it and I highly recommend. All right, the next book is definitely on lists of great books that everyone should read. That is The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. I think I'm saying it right. This book is historical fiction. It's set in World War II, specifically follows a little girl who is sent to live with another German family. The main reason that the book is called The Book Thief is because she loves books and she ends up stealing a few because she's also, they're poor. They don't have money for books. And also the World War II layer in all of this is that, if you didn't know this, in Germany, they would burn books, especially if it was written by Jews or had Jewish stories in them. They would burn these books, and just Mein Kampf was the only thing that people were allowed to read. So she even reads that in the book, which is really interesting, because she just likes words. And I just find that so cute, so charming. And she has a lot of good, genuine relationships in the book. Her best friend named Rudy is this neighborhood boy who teases her, but also they're really good friends. She has a good relationship with her dad. He reads to her, he sits with her, has a funny, interesting relationship with her mother. The mom figure is very tough love, but you know that she loves Liesel. And it's just, yeah, it's really sweet to see this little picture of their family. And of course, because it's World War II, it's also heartbreaking. There's a lot of moments in the book that are just little hints at, oh, the war is affecting them. The book doesn't usually come right out and talk about the war, but you can see obviously that it's touching their lives. Okay, one other interesting thing about the book that to me really worked, and I think maybe some people don't think this worked, for me it did, is that the narrator is Death. So Death is personified and talks about every person as these warm souls, and when he has to go and take them, it's not death in an evil sense or a taking joy that they die. It's more just death, that it happens to everyone. And he talks about how there's certain souls that he remembers and that he's sad when he has to go collect them. And again, just like an interesting little spin that I feel like most people probably don't realize is in this book, because it's a World War II historical fiction book. But yeah, I think that makes this book unique. I think it makes it worth reading. The next one is called The Hopkins Manuscript by R.C. Sheriff. This book, I really think, is going to be highly niche. I'm going to be surprised if people have heard of it, or I'm the one who's been living under a rock and I don't know it. This book follows a man in his, I want to say 40s or 50s. He's a bachelor, and he basically finds out that the moon is on a course collision with the Earth. Yeah, very random. And the book technically sounds sci-fi, but I really don't feel like it was a science fiction book. Not that I've read much science fiction to know, but it didn't give that vibe. The vibe that it gave was just literary fiction following this man who is very proud, specifically proud of his chickens that he shows in different, like he takes the chickens to shows and he wins prizes. Particularly proud of that, proud of just English living and the English countryside. And I just find him like lovable, even though he's proud and stuffy and a little bit arrogant and insecure. And yeah, I just liked learning about him and following his perspective as he navigates the fact that the moon is going to hit the Earth. I think that in general, humans like stories where people band together in bad circumstances. I recommend that one as well, although I bet there would be people who would think it's boring or unrealistic because, spoiler alert, as the moon approaches the Earth, the tides aren't changing, and I'm pretty sure that that would change. So yeah, but I totally overlooked that because the book is just not trying to be science fiction, even though it might be categorized like that. Okay, and the next two that I wanted to mention are books that I know are popular recently and books that may not make my like top list of favorite books, but they are books that I've thought about and they are books that I was surprised at how much I loved. The first book is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. This was a TikTok book, and so I don't know why I was drawn to read it. I think the premise is truly interesting, which I'll share in a second. But I was very pleasantly surprised that this book kept me engaged the entire time. It really felt like you're watching a train wreck and you don't want to look away. So the premise of this book is that there are two friends that are authors. One of them is very successful and one of them not so much. One day they're hanging out and the successful author, who also is Asian, that kind of becomes important to the main plot of the book, dies. Spoiler alert. Not really, because that's on the back of the book and it's in the first chapter. So she dies while this girl, the white girl, is in her apartment, the friends, and she's like, oh my gosh. She calls 911. As 911 is on the way, this is just so wild to me. But she decides to steal the manuscript of her friend who just died. So out of jealousy and just desire to be successful as an author herself, steals it and publishes it. Now, the story that she publishes is heavily Asian culture influenced. And there's a lot of commentary in this book about like who can write what, like what race and gender can write what kind of topics. And I'm not saying I agree with everything the author probably is trying to communicate, but I did think it was very interesting commentary on that, as well as just commentary in general on what a lie can do to a person. Because like I said earlier, you're just watching this girl like have to lie over and over and over again. And really it destroys her. Yeah, I won't say more. You should read it. It's definitely a quick read, in my opinion. And yeah, just enjoyable. The final book is very new. It is called Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. I don't know how you say her last name. This book is set on a remote island just like north of Antarctica. And there's this family that's there as like the lighthouse keepers, and they're kind of watching over the seed vault that's on the island. So one day for this family on this very remote island, a girl washes up on shore and the mystery kind of begins where they're like, whoa, who is this? How did she get here? Because no one just accidentally washes up on this island. Like, she was definitely headed for this island. You realize very quickly she was headed for the island. And in general, there's a really good vibe for a lot of the book that you don't really know, or I didn't know. You don't really know who has bad intentions. Does she have bad intentions or does the family have bad intentions? Because the family that lives on this island, immediately you can just feel like they distrust her. They feel like she's gonna find out something about what they're doing. And they're just very close chested about what they're doing and their family dynamics. It's pretty interesting. I think the reason that this book stands out to me is because the island was so well talked about. Like, I feel like I want to read more books set on that island. Like, yes, I liked the story and the characters, but the reason that this to me was a 5-star read was because the author did a truly great job making the island a character. There was a lot of descriptions and experiences with the wildlife and with the ocean tides and the mountainous region that it was, and how different waves were breaking down to different parts of the island, and the island was going to be underwater, unfortunately, in however many years. And I just found it so beautiful. It was a great little island, even though it was a mystery. It was a great island to spend time on. All right, that's it. Let me know in the comments what your favorite books are, or if you have any hot takes on the books that I shared. I'm sure that there is something that I said that people have a hot take on, so I'm very curious. Or if people agree with me, that's great too. Yeah, I look forward to making more book videos, so stick around. Bye.